let's start, Joe, with
With the ceiling as a roof.
this,
You
with the
wanna
fact
start
that the
there?
ceiling is the roof for the Arizona Cardinals. Yes,
Yes.
that's exactly where
Yes.
we're going to start.
Go ahead.
On one side of the coin, you have great wordsmiths like Mike Tomlin. On the other side, you have Michael Jordan telling everyone how the ceiling is the roof. That seems very appropriate for the Arizona Cardinals, though, in an offseason where they focused on the draft. 12 draft picks brought in, highlighted obviously by the selection of Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4th overall. And really, I mean, the signing of a left tackle, not much else that you look at it and go, ooh, okay, this is the thing that's going to push them over the top. Still in, I guess, would we call it a holding pattern with Kyler Murray, trying to figure out if he's the kind of franchise quarterback who can drag your team to the next level or not, or if he's a guy who's just always going to be flashes of brilliance without consistent production. Um, I come out of the offseason looking at the Cardinals going, other than Harrison, what did they do? What should I be excited about?
Yeah. Uh, that's why they're just kind of blah. That's why they're going through their struggles. Okay, you got your quarterback, and you're right. I guess we'll find out, but they've already made the commitment. They've made the announcement that he is the dude. Look around. Look around here. Look around Kyler. Okay, we got Harrison, and that's what everybody's going to point to. What else is there? What else is there? They and I know that's why you made the move to get rid of Steve Keim. You bring in Austin Ford, and we'll see.
Yeah.
It's just his second year there. They haven't drafted and developed anyone. That's why they are here in the basement of the NFC West with, okay, maybe there's going to be some upside. We'll see what Harrison does, but he's also replacing a wide receiver one that they just ended up losing. And around him, what do they have? Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson. It's
Yeah.
it's tough to get excited. Did they hit on the head coach? I don't know. It's hard to say. Your starting quarterback was only available for the second half of the season. So how do you judge him in year one? I think this is all challenging.
As you're into year of Austin Fort and Gannon, they're still trying to assess what do we really have in Kyler? Is he the
Yep.
kind of guy, like I said, who can be a 3 to 4 win difference maker in the regular season and also push us through a round or two of the playoffs so that we can go from being a 6.5 to 7.5 win team, a 7 win team, really, to, oh, we're a 9 or 10 win team that's winning a wild card and maybe making some noise in the playoffs. And it still doesn't feel like Murray has yet paid off on that promise, other than, like I said, these little flashes here and there. He's not even the most surprising guy or most explosive guy on offense anymore after drafting Harrison and after the year that Trey McBride had last year. And so, and then you mentioned as well on the defensive side, what has you especially excited? Buda Baker's not getting any younger or faster. Kazir White comes in. You do draft Darius Robinson, but I again don't see any of these guys being on the level of difference maker that you can rely on one side of the ball or the other to be the difference between. Like I said, this is probably I can see it as bad as a 6 win team, as good as a 9 win team, maybe, but they're in purgatory, it feels like.
Yep. Certainly does. They are a team that will surprise you from time to time, where they can be a big dog and they're going to beat a playoff team. We did see that. And in that second half, when Kyler was available, they were 3-5. That's decent. Not the basement of the NFL. I was a little surprised on the win total. And while we're sitting here trying to figure out what Kyler is and the rest of the league is, like you saw the adjustment. It's when you got Dobbs out there or Clayton Tune playing, like it's very different than when Kyler Murray's out there. That's a real threat. Like they had an 8-1 start to the season and looked, hopeless. But then Kyler comes back and now they're competitive. We did see that in the second half of the season. The win total. So BetMGM has 6.5 juice to the over. Other
Yeah.
sports books have 7.5 juice to the under. I found it interesting. Before even taking a look, I thought the win total would be shorter for this roster than the reality. So the market seems to be higher on the Cardinals than I am.
Yeah, and there's one spot out there that has him dead on 7 actually. So it's the spectrum runs all along that line of yeah, this is a 7-10 team. And when I sat down and looked at their schedule immediately in the aftermath of it coming out, that's exactly what I came up with, Joe. Like this is a 7-win team. If they
Okay.
underperform, it's 6. If they overperform, it's 8, maybe 9. I think a lot of it does have to do with the rest of their division, right? Like they are clearly in a division with multiple levels to it. You got Super Bowl contender in San Francisco. You've got wild card level teams, depending on the health and performance of their quarterbacks in LA and Seattle. And Arizona, it feels like, is a half rung down the ladder from those two for me, especially if Geno performs as he did last year again for Seattle, especially if Stafford stays healthy in LA and their defense can absorb the loss of Aaron Donald. Those are the kind of things that take the Rams and Seahawks from, say 8-win teams to 9.5 win teams.
I I like the under. Now this is a team that I will bet on. If I'm getting a +6, a +7 in certain matchups,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely weeks that I will be taking them. But this schedule is not easy to start. Like they could be put in a hole. Maybe not quite as bad as last year, but man, you start at Buffalo, tough place to start. Hosting
Yeah.
the Rams, I think they take a step back, but still not an easy game. The Lions, week 5, you go to San Francisco, back-to-back weeks at San Francisco, at Green Bay. That's
Have
brutal,
fun with that.
man. You gotta go to Miami week 8. We'll see what the Bears and Jets are. Like, so,
October is
thi
brutal for them.
it is. This first half of the schedule looks really rough. Very winnable games, obviously, with New England and Carolina back-to-back weeks late in the season, and then you close with San Francisco. Now, maybe San Francisco has their playoff position set. They're not playing for anything in that
Right.
week. It's still a divisional matchup. So, still, man, this schedule's too rough for me to sit here and say 7 to 8 wins to go over on the win total in this division. I can't get there.
The comeback player of the year award market. Tied for 8th at BetMGM on that board is Kyler Murray at 30-1. And if there's really that exponential year over year growth in maturity, which it sounds like the Cardinals they've invested in him financially already, right? So they probably look at it as well. We're invested in this guy financially for at least the next 4 years. We might as well invest in him wholeheartedly as well and support him as much as possible and see if we can't help him mature and grow. If that maturity and growth off the field should translate itself into becoming a better quarterback on the field, or at least a more consistent quarterback on the field, then maybe we start to get into a belief in Kyler Murray, whether it's in the comeback player of the year market, whether it's over 20 and a half passing touchdowns, over 34-50 in the hook and passing yards, and just maybe a more general belief in the Cardinals as a whole. I don't know if I'm buying in on that yet.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of interesting things here. Okay. I wanted to talk about this anyways. So we can weave this into the conversation. And there are some interesting Cardinals props that I want to discuss. But there was a change in the comeback player of the year for the NFL. And the guy that oversees it is AP senior NFL writer Rob Maddie. And this is what he said. The spirit of the AP Comeback Player of the Year award is to honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstances that led to him missing playing time the previous season. I know Kyler missed playing time in the previous season, but he also played for half the season. There's a lot to that quote, and it's about, I
Yeah.
think, your winners over the last couple of years. But don't you think Kyler Murray will be removed from consideration by many since he played the second half of the season?
I mean, he may, but I don't know if that's within the spirit even of what that definition of the award is. Like, I look at it this way. If you missed a significant portion of the previous season, which Murray did, which we talked about Joe Burrow before, missed a significant portion of the season last year for the Bengals, then I think that opens you up to be a part of the comeback player of the year conversation, right? Like, I don't think we have to come up with a statistical definition for what the bulk of the season is, or a large portion of the season. I think it's more about, hey, how much time did you miss? How significant was the injury? And how does that relate to your performance in now this year? I think it's definitely a response to, hey, Joe Flacco sucked, then got pulled off the couch and didn't suck
Yep.
anymore.
Yep.
So
And
who
DeMar
put
Hamlin
that
not winning. And
right?
DeMar
So who
Hamlin.
put that
Yes.
adversity in Joe Flacco's footsteps? Well, Joe Flacco did. It's not like he was injured. It's not like, he was. So that's definitely what this is a response to. And that's why I think when I look at, let's see, when I look at any of the top 6 names on the board, I see guys who missed a good portion of last season, if not most or all of it, due to injury, right? Rodgers, Burrow, Cousins, Richardson, Chubb, Watson.
Go
Daniel
ahead,
Jones
say it.
might be in.
Russell Wilson. This means Russell Wilson's not in the mix.
He shouldn't be. He shouldn't.
He shouldn't be.
Why did Russell?
But,
why
yeah.
what is Russell Wilson coming back from? He's coming back from sucking. Was
That's
Russell
what
Wilson?
That's how Geno Smith won it a couple years ago, though.
Right, but this, to your point, I guess it sounds like they're trying to redefine this as who placed the adversity in your footsteps. Did you do it yourself through your own performance? Flacco, Geno, Russ. Well, then you're not necessarily high on the board, and
Justin
that's where
Fields out. Bryce Young out. Like there's a lot. We should revisit this later because I think it's interesting. There are a lot of names that maybe we've brought up in conversation about the Carolina Panthers. Like I threw out the idea about Bryce Young. What if he is good in year number 2?
Mm-hmm.
This is saying he's not really eligible. He was bad. Okay, that's not what the definition of the comeback player of the year is. I just, since we brought it up with Kyler, I thought that was interesting. I do believe that missing first half versus second half matters. I know you look at it as how much time did you miss last year? I think just humans voting on this award, what they remember. If you make a comeback and you're there for the entire second half of the season, just mentally, they're not going to say that you're coming back from injury because you were healthy in the last couple months at the very least. So I think that's interesting. But the guys top of the board, you're right. Rodgers, Burrow missed so much of the season. Cousins, Richardson, did not see them play at the end. So I would agree with it there.